Regan.
Good evening, teachers.
Good evening, teacher.
How are you?
We are fine.
Fine, thank you, teacher. Welcome.
We are fine.
Hope the evening has been good. I've been having a challenge on the issue of the network has really disturbed me. But it's now good that we are able to meet after losing about 14 minutes, I think. I think it is 14 minutes, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 14, 15 minutes. Now, I don't know where to start from because we have really taken long since we met last. And the last time we met, we were talking about the definition of terms and why teachers should learn philosophy and also sociology. This is, as I told you the other time before I start, is a paper or a sub-paper. Let me use the term sub-paper. It's a sub-paper that comprises two units. The two units are sociological and philosophical foundations of education. Those are the two papers that I handle. Though when you come back here, you'll be handled by a different tutor. We normally use the same notes, so we have no problem. But for now, I want us to go through and remind ourselves of issues that we need to know. Though we have learned them in other fields or in other areas, learning areas and so forth. Things like education, which is just common. What is education? We have to define what is education. I'll send you some questions that comprise of such papers on curriculum matters. Then we have also to know the terms like what is sociology, what is sociological, what is philosophical, and so forth, and their characteristics, and why we need to learn sociological foundation of education, why we need to learn philosophical foundation of education. I will start with the education, and I will not go to define what education is, but I want to look at what education promotes to us as a national unity, ways in which education promotes national unity. Education is very important, and especially the curriculum that a group of people undergo through the same country and at various levels of education. Therefore, ways in which education promotes national unity, because education is part of sociological and is also part of philosophical. We have some issues that interact in the three areas. That is why I've included education here. So one of the most important thing that we get out of education is the teachers are posted to teach in any school in Kenya. We are posted to teach in a school of Kenya. That is one way in which or through which education promotes national unity. It also admits people without discrimination. Children can be admitted in various schools in the country regardless of their background and also ethnicity. It also raises raising the flag or singing the national anthem is one of the national unity which brings us together because we sing the national anthem throughout the country. Participating in music, drama, and festivals, which we are doing now, and I know some of you are taking part in drama, which is now on. Next time we are going to have music, which we shall also be meeting with friends from various parts of this country, especially when we reach at the national level. Teaching Kiswahili as a national language. Now, Kiswahili brings us together because there's nowhere in this country where you will go without hearing someone speaking Kiswahili. We speak solely because we learned this language in school. The uniform we put on in schools, we don't discriminate. This one comes from a certain area, therefore he has to put on this type of, of uniform. That is how education promotes national unity. Now, what is the function of education? Education, it brings about individual development. Education brings about individual development. You as an individual, when you go through education, you will develop in various ways, economically, socially, politically, and so forth. It also helps an individual to adjust well in the society and to develop a high sense of responsibility to self and to himself and the society. Education also helps a person to think critically and constructively.
Kindly repeat.
Yes, am I too fast?
Yes.
I'm going through this because they're not very important, but they're important anyway. But I want to go very fast because I will send these notes. Remember, I sent you the course outline. Did you get it? Did you get the course outline?
Yes.
Not. Yes.
Mm. So I'm on the way. After going through this, tomorrow you are going to get these things. So don't worry, you will read them, madam, and my colleague, men. So it helps a person to think critically and constructively. When you go through education, you think critically. You don't just reason shallowly, so that people look at you and then they ask, did this man really go to school? Education preserves and transmits cultural values, practices, beliefs, and norms of the society, and plus others that you will get to know them. Then we have what you call the components of education. I'm just going through because they are found in other fields of other sub-papers. It comprises the following. One, educational planning. There is also what we call educational administration. Another one is educational organization. That's the components of education. Educational planning, educational administration, educational organization, educational direction, educational coordination, educational supervision, educational control or controlling, and also educational evaluation. All those are the components. In education, we have to plan. After planning, we have to administer. And administering means you have to organize it very well. We have to give direction. Which direction do we take as a nation, as a country, and so forth? It also needs some coordination. We have to coordinate here and there, internally and even externally. We have to supervise, make sure that it is being managed well. We have to control it so that people do not just bring in what is not required in the curriculum that we teach. We have to evaluate after a child going through the system of education. At the end of it, we have to evaluate. But this right now, evaluation is continuous. Evaluation is continuous with the creation of CBC curriculum. So that when we do that, we are evaluating. We have continuous, and then we have what we call formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative, that means it is as if someone is competing in a race. You are running, therefore people see you who is going to win that race. So it is continuous. Formative in the education system is continuous. So that is what we can talk about with the education. Now, let us look at the principles of. No. That one is not for now. Let us now look at functions of the various organizations of education. And when you talk of various various organization of education, I'm looking at 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 education, characteristics of education as a process. We have two types of educational sectors. We have education as a process, then education as a system. Education as a process and education as a system. What do we mean by education as a process? When we talk of education as a process, we mean it is a continuous process that takes place in a person's life, so that when a child goes through the system, you learn until death says, no, you have reached there. That is what we mean by education as a process. It's continuous. It also involves the initiation of individuals into what the society considers worthwhile in terms of knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes. That's a process which involves the initiation of an individual or individuals in what the society considers worthwhile in terms of knowledge. What type of knowledge are you receiving? What are the skills you are gaining through this education? What are the values you are getting? What attitudes are you gaining? And what are they valuable to the society? How are they valuable to the country and about the world? The society influences the education process of any country. Remember that when any new system of education comes into force, people of that particular country, citizens of that particular country must be involved. It is very important that we give our ideas about the new system of education. But unfortunately, especially the third world countries, that one rarely happens. It rarely happens. What they normally do is they only look for selected fellows, selected people who come up, and then they are the ones that will initiate or give ideas of which type of education the country needs. I remember when CPC was introduced, I was never asked, though CBC is good, but I was not involved in the decision making, or even my ideas were not sourced for. Therefore, what we talk of, when you talk of a process, means we have to involve all people in the society, because the values we go and learn, the knowledge we get, and the skills we gain, the attitudes must come from the society. The society influences the education process of any country. That's what I've said. Then the Kenyan society today expects a practical oriented education. That is what we want, because these white collar jobs have now become useless. They don't help us, because after you have gotten those clean certificates, where is the job? Where is the job? And you have not gone through practical work in school. What you went through in school was memorization and and um, paperwork only. But those skills, those practical skills, people do not get. Thank you. I'm very happy with the introduction of CPC, which I hope politicians will not come up and then destroy it the way they have started. Then what are the characteristics of education as a process? What are the characteristics of education as a process? Has direction. Education, education as a process has direction. It knows where it is taking people, and also people know where they are headed to, and therefore that's why we say one of the characteristics of education as a process is it has a direction which guides and controls individuals in behavior modification for a full functioning person, so that when you come out of school, when you come out of college, the way you are moving out, very soon you become a functional person, a practical person. In class, you become practical. You don't teach through memorization. No, you teach what you know, what you have gone through, and so forth. Another one is, has what each generation purposefully transmits to the next generation. That education, which is a process, has what is the most important things that must be handed over to the next generation, and that what is handed over to the next generation must be productive, must be good, must be valuable, so that that particular person, when he comes out of school, he is helpful to the society and so forth. It advances from one stage to another. That is another characteristic of education as a process. It advances from one stage to another. In Kenya, when we take our children to school, they go to PP1, PP1, PP2, grade 1, and so forth. And then they reach to the highest level of education. That means we are advancing, we are moving from zero to some steps higher. And as we move to those higher steps, we get more qualified, more important skills that will be productive to our country. Has policies and guidelines to be followed. Education as a process has policies and guidelines to be followed. You cannot just go to school, or you as a teacher, when you go to class, you teach anything that is not in the curriculum. There are policies you have to follow. There are rules you have to follow. There are guidelines that will help you. No, don't step here. Step here. This is a wrong place for you to step. This is not the correct book for you to use. This is not the right song to sing. These are not the right words the pupils exchange in class. So that is what we mean by policies and guidelines. It is limited to human beings. Education as a process is only given to human beings. Eh? That's where we go through, we learn, and there is a curriculum. There are also stages of advancement in that system. And therefore, it brings us to be involved in the ability to learn, so that we get the ability to learn and teach others also. When you advance in that particular level, from the lowest level to the next level, you are able to help those ones behind you. And when you qualify, then the government gives you a responsibility to teach others, to correct others, to give them values, to give them morals, and so forth. Another characteristic is it deals with the mental health that makes human beings to learn and train themselves. Yes, our mentals must be healthy. Eh? And the moment you have that problem, then you have to see a physician so that you think well. And if you are at home uh, and you don't, you have very little education, that means you don't think well. Therefore, you have to go to school so that your mental health improves. Alimu, I'm telling you, when you have gone through education, you must be different, very much different from that particular person who only had a lower level of education. At our higher level of education, the way we have reached, the way we think, the way we talk, and even the way we put on, the way we present ourselves before others, that means our mentals are healthy. We are healthy mentally. Therefore, we become human beings to learn and train ourselves and even others in the society, because we have gone through that process. Lastly, it is handed over from one generation to generation. Education does not belong to you. Education belongs to the society. The society worked very hard through your parents, through your relatives, and so forth to get that education. Therefore, when we get it, we have to transfer first to our children immediately they are born, and when we take them to school. And not only to our children, even the children of our neighbors, the children of our relatives, and other people who are not even related to us, provided we have been given the responsibility to do that. Now, another thing about education, components of education as a process. Education as a process, it has components. And one of the components of education as a process is standards. Uh, Education has standards. Education has assessments. We have standards to achieve. And before we achieve those standards, we have to be assessed. We are accountable. And even those teachers of ours, those leaders of ours are accountable to us because through education as a process, they have to do that. Education, another component is professional development. Professional development. It developed us professionally, develops us professionally, so that what we do it as people who have acquired proper education. Another thing is school autonomy. School autonomy, that means what we present in school cannot be interfered with unless it is passed. And then those corrections are done away with. Another one is parent involvement. When children go to school, they don't just belong to the teachers. The parents must be involved. The society must be involved so that education achieves its needs. Another one is learning is readiness. When you go to school, you must be ready. A child, you cannot just take an underage, a child who has not even acquired language, and then you take such a child to school. The child must be ready. Must be ready, age-wise to go to school. Mentally, the child must be ready to go to school. Though we have cases where we have children that are physically challenged, managed, and so on. Those ones can be taken to special schools. Then there is what you call use of technology, which CBC is now stressing on, is one of the components of education as a process. Those are the components of education as a process. Another area I want to look at is, after looking at education as a process, I want us to look at education as a system, structure, or organization. Education as a system, structure, and organization. Remember, I'm doing this because I'm going very fast because it's not the first time. The first time we went through with other people and there were very few, but this time we are many. That's why I wanted to make everybody at least be aware of what we are supposed to do. Then education as a system. The term process shows how education takes place or system takes place or acquired, which is in its usage. A process or a system, not to misuse that. A system means that education is lifelong activity, is a lifelong activity. Education advances, as I said earlier on, from one level to another. And therefore, that is what education is. Now, what are the factors that influence the country's education system? What are the factors that influence the country's education system? One of the factors is the societal attitudes, the attitudes of the society, the attitudes from the society is very important in education, deciding the type of education we have. This plays an important role in policy foundation. Societal attitudes plays a very important role in policy formulation and school administration. Policy formulation and school administration. But in some instances, as I said earlier, some of our leaders, some of our politicians will always change education to meet their needs. Therefore, the education system should address the societal attitudes by either promoting or changing them. Education system should address the societal attitudes by either promoting or changing them. So that is one of the factors, societal attitudes. Another thing that influences a country's system of education is language. What type of language do we want to incorporate in our system of education? Like in Kenya, the most important languages that are used now, they have been increased to three. But the most ones are our Kiswahili, which is very important, and English. Then from there we come to our indigenous languages, then foreign languages like French, German, Chinese, and others. Those are foreign languages. But the most important languages we can look at as a country are Kiswahili, English, and indigenous languages, which have now been incorporated in our new system of education. Another another factor is political and religious ideologies. Political and religious ideology. This one, we can look at it in two areas, but I've combined them because our leaders, most of them are religious, most of them are also politicians. They have a major influence. These factors have a major influence on educational objectives and content. They have a major influence on educational objectives and content. For instance, a single political party, to ensure that its political ideologies are articulated, control the education system, religious influences, and so forth. That's why our leaders always want to know the type of religions that other, if new religions come about Christianity, the field of Christianity, and so forth, they want to know their backgrounds and what they stand for. Another thing that helps a country to the side of education is industrialization and population growth. Industrialization and population growth. Another factor is industrialization and and industrialization and population growth. When industries grow, they will control. They can be able to meet the number of population that has also grown. Challenged education systems, especially from the beginning of the 20th century. Advantages, more naturally learning process. You are not forced. The way you attend class, you cannot just present timetables there. You are supposed to be in class, and then you are seen. Nothing like that. It does not make you control you. It utilizes a variety of techniques. You can use all types of techniques or pedagogies to teach. No specific time span. You are not told that when you move to the next level, you have to take this period. No. It has some disadvantages, just as the others. No proper scheduled time plan and predictable results. Whether you'll get it or you'll not, you can't even tell. Lack of confidence in the learner. You are learning and you don't even see the future, that type of education. And the last one is informal education, the one we have in the schools, like playing games, discussion groups, go camping, make music and drama, go for ball games and so forth. Those are things that characteristics of non-formal education. It has no timetable. As I said, unlike theoretical form education, it is this one is practical and vocational. Or you go during the vocational time and so forth. Others will get it tomorrow. I'm going to send this to you, and you will go through by yourself. Advantages: practice and vocational training. Naturally growing minds that do not wait for the system. Literacy with skillness, growth, flexibility in age, curriculum, and time is open. It's an open-ended. You learn until when you get tired of, maybe when you die. It has also some disadvantages. Eh? It is a wastage of time, just like informal education. Basic reading and writing skills are crucial to learners. It's not very, but does not take part in that. Now, after that, let us now come to, we have now understood, we have now gotten what education is, and we can learn more about education also, because um, there are some areas up there I did not talk about, especially explaining what education really is. You will read it more when I have sent them to you. So, sociological and philosophical education. Let us now address our issue, philosophical and sociological education. Someone else, what is sociology? What is sociology? Sociology is a study of the relationship between education and society. It has a variety of definitions. People have come up with various definitions. It is an investigation of the social process that involves education in institutions. It is a scientific study of social interaction. In fact, that is now the best definition. It is the scientific study of social interaction. When we mix socially at any level, at any so she's a scientific study of social interaction and the development of human social organization. And that is very important in education. It's a very important subject or learning area in any education that we have teach our children about socializing. And then he divided sociology into two. That is what we call social statics. Social statics. Social statics mean deals with the aspect of social life. This one deals, social statics deals with the aspects of social life that do with order, stability, and the family. There is an order that the society we have to follow. There must be stability. The family must be involved so that social life can prosper. It allows societies and social institutions or groups to hold together as and survive. When we come together, we live together, then we become strong. If we don't live together and socialize, then we have a problem. And of course, I'm telling you, when you are in school, don't sit alone as if you are dejected. No, socialize. When you socialize, your life becomes good. You live well. Rather than staying alone, you will have what you call pressure. And the end of it, you die. There is what we call another aspect is social dynamics. It is the process. Social dynamics is the process of social life also that patterns institutional development and has to do with the social change. Dynamics. Dynamics means things have to change. eh? You are dynamic. You are not too dull and so forth. Therefore, education and sociology looks at the dynamic thing. Therefore, what is sociology of education? We have been looking at sociology. Then what is sociology of education? This is a study of the relationship between society and education. Now we can see. Why do we go to school to teach? We go to school to teach so that we can help people to socialize, people to know that they are needed by other people, and they also need other people to stay. Without other people, life can be very very unhappy on your side. So it is very important that we socialize. It's very important that children should be socialized. We should not restrict children when they are playing in groups. It is very important. That's why even in CBC, we have to teach children in groups. We have to create groups in the classroom so that children learn through grouping, and that one can help them to socialize and they become positive human beings in life. It also refers to the study of how an individual experiences experience and public institutions can affect education and its outcomes. Your experiences and also public institutions, how how are these experiences and public institutions come together to help one to overcome or to come out of certain issues? So it is very important that we as tutors or as teachers must help these children to develop socially, and therefore that one will help them to grow as positive members of the society. I can see I will spend more than time than that is necessary. What I will go, or what I will do, is I will send you some notes, maybe this evening or very early tomorrow, so that you go through, know what we are talking about. So those are a few explanations of what we mean by what is uh, sociology of education. Then we have also definition. What is philosophy? Philosophy, as used by the ancient Greek philosophers, is it means pursuit of knowledge. We look for knowledge for its own sake, for the sake of ours. It deals with the ultimate of the universe, the world we live in. How is it? How does it affect us? What's the importance? What do I gain when I live in this world? And that's why people, when you tell someone to die, will not want because they know what they benefit. It deals with the ultimate of the universe and the general causes and principles of the things that man observes and experiences. Philosophy also makes us think critically. We look at things critically. We don't just act carelessly and rationally. No, we have to think rationally. It can also be defined as the study that deals with the ultimate of the universe and the general causes or principles of things that man observes and experiences. So that is what philosophy is, and sociology is. Then we have looked at um, uh, sociology of education. What about philosophy of education? Philosophy of education is a branch of physics of philosophy that addresses philosophical questions concerning the nature, aims of problems, aims and problems of education, where its practitioners look both inward to the present. Disciples of philosophy and outward to educational practices. Those are what philosophy of education looks at. Philosophy of education has also been defined variously with different people in different ways. It is a discipline which applies philosophical approach in order to come to better understanding of basic educational issues, and not only education, even our own life. You have to think before you act, think critically, think rationally. That is what philosophy talks about. So when we meet, we shall start from what are the purpose of philosophy of education, what are the purpose of sociology of education to a teacher. Why do we learn sociology as teachers? Why do we learn philosophy as teachers? I will send you these things so that when we come next time, we shall interact. We have missed, and I was wondering why philosophy and even historical and comparative has not been put on the on the on the online timetable for a very long time. It's about 2 months without learning that, and surely we have lost a lot of things. So, teachers, because of time, why can't we stop there? And if there is something you can ask, eh? I've been singing. And I was taking you through fast because I'm going to send you this thing so that when we meet next time, I will be a learner as you facilitate me in sociology and philosophy. Thank you. Good night, and then we meet next time. God be with you, my my good